Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Directors Meeting for the Lincoln City Council for Monday, March 8th, 2021. As always, in the back northwest corner is a copy of our Open Meetings Act. Okay, we'll go through here. Any adjustments to the agenda? Seeing none, City Clerk.
For our council agenda on March 8th, we have under, our public hearing liquor resolutions. We'll be calling items 4B and 4C together.
Okay.
And I believe that's it. Everything else is pretty standard.
Everything else is set and ready to go.
One item,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. The 4A under liquor resolutions,
Yes.
it came to my attention after, or just before the agenda was finalized, and that they do not intend to utilize or make an application for SDL, so they're going to be cut from the agenda. That's just a heads up.
Okay.
I'll do it during session.
Yeah, you can just make a motion to remove them.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on the agenda?
Mr. Chair?
Okay, we can move on.
Oh.
Yeah, do you have something?
Well, items on pending, 10D, E, and F, related to Revolution Wraps. The plan amendment did move through the Planning Commission, and the Law Department emailed our department today and asked that you move the ordinance to third reading and related resolution for April 5th. So I have plenty of time to do that. I'm just giving you notice from what,
5.
Would
We
we
heard
want to
from the
do
law
that
department.
today?
We can do that today.
Yeah,
We just need the 2
can
weeks.
just stick it out there.
When we get to that section, right?
When we get to that section, it can be moved from pending no date to April 5th.
okay.
Would you do
Okay.
that, Tammy?
Will you do that?
All right. I'll give you a hearty
Knew you were good for something.
second.
Yeah, okay. Anything else on the agenda? Okay, not seeing anything else. We'll move on to the mayor's office and/or the city attorney. Does the mayor have anything, office, to bring forward? Do we have any questions for our city attorney regarding some of the items?
Good afternoon, Johansi Christie, City Attorney. I will tell you that I believe Mr. David Saver is here as well. So,
We start by asking questions. Is that what you're thinking, or would you like to give us a brief synopsis?
if I can do it however you want. Would you like me to do a brief synopsis? It'll be similar to what I did
Yeah.
last week, I think. Okay. Well, I think there are really, when we talk about the emergency declaration and the process and the procedure for that, it's important to understand this is outlined in the code, the Lincoln Municipal Code 2.06.040. I believe that should be the right. Yeah, 2.06.040. I couldn't read my handwriting. That's the emergency declaration for the mayor. It can be no longer than 72 hours unless extended by the city council. I think that's in 2.06.070. And then if it's extended by the council can extend that for however long the council wishes to have it in effect. 2.06.050 lays out the emergency powers that are afforded to the mayor under an emergency declaration. And then when we talk about directed health measures exist independently of a state of emergency. So the directed health measures are outlined in state statute, first and foremost. The state statutes are 71-501. Subsection 1 talks about the requirements for health departments. And then 71-1630, subsection 4, specific to the Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department. 71-1631 talks about other health departments in the state as well. They're very similar statutes. And then when you go to the code, when we're talking about directed health measures, that is outlined in 8.18. That is the Communicable Disease Act. And 8.18.140 talks about some of the directed health measures that can be instituted by the health director. But 8.18 outlines the procedure, the authority that is afforded to the health director, and it also talks about the procedure if someone wishes to contest directed health measure as well. So
Okay.
it's kind of just a brief walkthrough synopsis. I will try to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Councilperson Washington.
It's not a question per se, but I just want to have a conversation. So thank you for getting back to me when I asked you for a list of all the ordinances and resolutions that had been enacted that had something to do with the emergency, because I wanted to understand what the impact of our declaring an emergency declaration was from last March. And I really appreciate your consolidating all of those and bringing them to us. And there were a few, of course, that I can't believe I did not keep top of mind, the fact that our budget became an annual process, but thank you so much for reminding us of that if we haven't already been reminded of that in the last 5 weeks. But thank you so much for doing that. And if you wouldn't mind, I know that the email came in this morning, so if you wouldn't mind just listing them all out loud, because I want the public to understand which ordinances have been enacted since we declared the emergency, based on the emergency, not every last ordinance that has been worked on this year.
Absolutely. Well, first we have the resolution, which happened March of last year, that extended the state of emergency. Of course, we're all aware of that. Then the ordinances related to the emergency declaration related to the pandemic. There's the annual budget that you referenced. I included that in there because that was actually in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the uncertainty of the future. And so the council, you guys set an annual budget instead of a 2-year budget. There was also the delay an ordinance delaying the expiration date of current certificates of compliance. And so that has to do with late fees for certificate of compliance for child care programs. So it was extended so that the late fees would not accrue. Then there was also offenses against excessive retail prices. That was passed early on by ordinance in May. So it prohibits excessive profiteering during the emergency. It's been some time. Probably that's gotten lost, I think, a little bit. Special events, there are some rules with special events. And the council passed ordinance to allow more flexibility for local businesses in response to the COVID-19 health emergency. Specifically, with special events in the code, you can't have special events during Husker home games. The council, you guys relaxed that, did away with that. Also, there was the third-party food delivery fees, recently passed by the council. Put a cap on that. Another temporary delay in taxes, I believe, temporary suspension of taxes. That was early on. That was, I believe, occupation tax. And then going back to the SDLs, there was also a requirement of 21 days notice. And you guys passed an ordinance temporary suspending the 21-day requirement for businesses that wish to have SDL. Those are the, I believe, now if I miss some, I'll do my best to try to correct that, but I believe those are the ordinances that the council has passed in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I should have been 8 that I referenced.
You captured the 8 that you sent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this point? Any questions for Mr. David Saver? Do we have any for him? For you, we'll let you go.
Thank you. As you know, I'll
Leave.
stay. I'll stay nearby.
Yeah, come on up. Mr. David Saver, thank you for coming down.
Yep, good afternoon. My pleasure. Again, like last week, I don't have any prepared comments, but I'm certainly available to answer any questions you may have.
Yes, Councilperson Show.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Davis, for coming down. Can you hear me well? Do I need to remove?
Yes, I can hear you.
So, last week you did a wonderful job of explaining that by declaring the emergencies, the emergency declaration gave you a letter or the authority to request help from other people.
Correct.
Is that too much? So, and that doesn't really have an expiration date on it, that help, as long as it's available to us, you can ask for it based on that one declaration.
Yes, as long as it's signed by the chief elected official of the impacted entity. So when it comes to the city of Lincoln, that's the mayor. This is in my tenure or in recent memory, this COVID is the first example of where we've had that state that needed to remain in effect essentially open-ended. And we're a year into it now, but that's certainly the case, that we are still in the response effort. We are still actively responding to the emergency created by COVID-19, and as such, we're best served by having that emergency declaration in place. So no, to my knowledge, there's never been a question about an expiration date. It is in effect as long as we, that local impacted entity, say it is.
Thank you. That was my question. I appreciate that.
Okay. Any other questions for him at this time? Thank you for coming down.
Yep, thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other questions for Mr. Christie or Mr. David Saver at this time? Okay. Okay, we can move on then. Let's move on to Health Department. Director Lopez, thank you for coming down again.
Good afternoon. I appreciate being able to be here today with you. I just wanted to share with you, right now we're at 28,522 cases. We had an additional 40 cases yesterday. Our number of cases last week ending March 6th was 324, which was slightly decreased from the week before, 339. Our past 7-day average of cases is 48, and our positivity rate for last week was 18%, which is lower than the week before at 22%. The one thing that I'm really pleased about is that we haven't had any reported deaths in our community for the last 9 days. So that's very encouraging. However, as I just want to remind you that we've had the reports of the variants in our state and variants in Lancaster County. So we're continuing to monitor that closely. Our testing went up slightly last week to 1,800, which is a little greater than the week before. And as of yesterday, we've administered 97,494 doses of vaccine to Lancaster County residents, and of those, 60,253 individuals received a first dose, and 37,241 individuals received a second dose. And we also vaccinated about 5,000 individuals with their second dose over 75 and older last week, and then 70-plus first doses at about 2,000. Today, we're at Pinnacle, vaccinating those 65 and older, about 8,000 of our community members. So I was there this morning, and in the first hour, in 10 minutes, we had vaccinated 1,100 people. So things move pretty quickly. We also began vaccinating our educators in the community, and we provided 2,000 vaccines on Saturday at a new location, the Center for People in Need. So we'll be back out at Speedway on Thursday and possibly Friday because of Boys State, which is great to have Boys State back here. And we're also going to be providing Johnson & Johnson 3,000 doses for our education staff in the community. So I'll stop there.
Do we have any questions for Director Lopez? You said we haven't administered any Johnson & Johnson yet?
No.
Okay, this week?
Yes, we will be. That's the plan for all the educators, because we're able to direct that to whichever group, and so we're trying to provide that to the educators.
Are we still seeing increase in doses, or is it about the same this?
About the same. The state received slightly less last week, but we received our same allotment. The other thing, I'm working closely with the pharmacies. So far, we have Hy-Vee and RelyCare that have vaccine. Working really closely with RelyCare. They've been going out doing vaccinations for some groups to improve accessibility. And they've also been working with some of our long-term care residents and staff that needed vaccine. So that's been a good partnership. I've met with Hy-Vee to talk to them about clarifying the president's directive was that they are to be vaccinating educators and child care providers.
Okay. It's ever changing.
Yes, yes, and we'll probably have more retail pharmacies soon, but.
Any other questions for Director Lopez? Seeing none, thank you for coming down. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yay, Pat.
Okay. Any questions on anybody for any of the boards or committees that we've been attending? And is there anybody would like to speak with any directors and have them come down? Yes, Councilperson Ward.
Thank you. I would like to chat with Dan Marvin before he gets too far away.
Okay.
There he is. Okay, thank you.
Ditto.
Dan, everybody wants to talk to Dan, huh?
Nope.
Okay.
Everybody loves
I
David.
may try to find David Carey if I got time
Who's
here.
here?
Is he back there?
I can't tell. I don't know who's here.
Okay. I can go find him. I know where he works.
Oh, Pat, could you stick around for just one moment? I have a question for you.
I think Chief Jackson said no, David is not.
Okay. Anything else?
But again,
We'll stand adjourned till 3 o'clock.
yay.